In this video, we're going to be talking about what I recommend for Spider-Man and 1v1 PvP, group PvP, as well as single target PvE. Let's get into it. Alright, so Spider-Man for patch 2.0.3. He's been the same for a while now. You'll see a few important changes I'd like to talk about. One of them is going to be a specialization right here, and then the Omega War can be a little tricky. So for best armor sets, we have Eyes of Osiris and Kigerr. So there's another armor set that does web shooters, but its 3 set bonus is defense instead of dodge. You obviously don't want that. Spider-Man always wants to dodge. For stats, we have PvP decrease, defense pierce, dodge rate, PvP increase, and crit damage. For companions, we're using Hulk. You can use Baby Groot, the Spider-Man companion. There are some decent other companion options, but Hulk does stand alone as probably the best option for Spider-Man. For skills, we have the Spider Bot that does the web shooters. This one is going to help slow them down, give them that accuracy down, which helps you out a lot. Because when you are at max dodge, as we'll talk about with this red specialization in a minute, they will have a 70% chance to hit you with max accuracy. Then we're using our web shooter right here. This is the 9-shot one. And what happens here is, as it hits the target several times, it'll do more and more damage. And what happens here is you can animation cancel it. So when you go to shoot it, as soon as the second or third one comes out, you can then dodge, and then all of them register at the same time. Then we're using Endless Swing as our number 3 right here, and that's for 2 reasons. One, the first version is a lower cooldown, so you can do it more often, but the animation for this lasts long enough so that you can get your green spec back up, as well as get your web shooter back up in that time that you're killing during the Endless Swing, as well as it hits like a truck. Then we have number 4. I'm using Spider Grenade. This is the one that super glue does damage all over the place. You can use the 3rd version that does a high guard break if you want to lean into the guard break route. This build right here is all about just killing your opponent, but really you're just wanting to use the first 3 skills, and number 4 and number 5 are just fillers at this point. 5 is gyroscope. It follows, it tracks really, really well, and it really is just a great filler when web shooters is down. Then we have crit damage, defense pierce, crit damage, defense pierce, cooldown, and the veteran card for more options. Remember that the veteran card in the 3rd slot can roll cooldown, which cooldown's not on my stats because cooldown should be number 1 across the board for all game modes for all reasons. Then we talk about the traits right here. The first one, the red one, gives you plus 15% cap on dodge rate. This does not give you dodge rate. It allows you to have more dodge rate. Everyone caps at 75. This allows you to go up to 90. The green one gives you dodge gauge recovery when you use a Spider Combat class skill. Your Endless Swing is your Spider Combat class skill. As the cooldowns line up, you'll be able to get a full dodge gauge, a dodge whenever you use Endless Swing. Then this 3rd one right here is a mix-up. I like this one, Great Responsibility, because this is a cheat death type one, similar to Black Widow, Wolverine, things like that. If you would get one shot, you have a chance to use your web shooters, Endless Swing, whatever. And I prefer this over Green Goblin Madness, that gives total damage and lowers your defense. That is a good other option. Just when you get in the higher ranks, It's everyone's just one-shotting everybody. And if you have this in your back pocket, you're going to win the one-shot war because you can't get one-shot. Then this one turns your dodge and damage. Works really well with the red one right there. Next, let's get into Omega War. Alright, with Omega War, we're using the same armor sets for the same reasons. The same stats for the same reasons. Companions, Mighty Thor is generally good for all characters. You can still use Hulk if you wish. But remember, if everyone's using Mighty Thor, using Hulk puts you at a disadvantage. So it's a kind of a toss-up. If they have Mighty Thors, then a Hulk is bad. If they don't have Mighty Thors, Hulk can do some work. Then our skills, 2 through 5 are the same. Number 1 is changed. Number 1, I like the hologram because it can mess up with people's targeting, similar to Bubble or clones, and really can mess up people's, similar to how Hulk works. Using the same cards for the same reasons. And with specs, the only thing that changed is we're not using the cheat death spec because that has a 10-minute cooldown and Omega Wars last 7 minutes. We are using the Green Goblin Madness for more total damage. Next, let's get into Alliance Raid and Dark Zone. Alright, for Alliance Raid Dark Zone, these are your single target PvE style targets. We are using the same armor sets, but this is where infographics are a little weird because I'm only putting one armor set, and in this one I would like to put the Xanderth type ones right here as well. I believe Steampunk is the one that does spider combat as well. So those are fine for PvE. It's just if you're already getting Eyes of Osiris for the other ones, you may as well do it here because you're not losing. You lose out on damage in PvE, but not by enough that it's worth to bring up a second set of gear. For stats, we're using defense, pierce, supervillain damage, dodge rate, crit damage, total damage. If there was a number 6, it would definitely be stamina because this build can stamina lock you by a lot. For companions, Punisher does really good right here, but it just sucks having to put Punisher on all of them. So Chavez is a good number 2. Really, I go back and forth between the two because there are pluses and negatives on both. If everyone's using Punisher, you're going to want a Chavez. If everyone's using Chavez, you're going to want a Punisher. You got to go back and forth on those. For skills, we're using the 4th version of Web Shooter, not the one that does scaling damage, because that one, for whatever reason, does more on PvP against players than it does against bosses. And this does flat out more damage against bosses. Then we're using Spider Combat, the kick, the 3rd one on the list. We're still using Endless Swing because it does the most damage out of the Spider Swings. Gyroscope because it does good damage, has low cooldown. Then we're using the knock back and forth. The bosses don't really move, and it really lets you do your work. If you're against a boss that does move, or is a group type boss like Thanos, MODOK, things like that, you can use the shot put where it swings around twice and then crashes down. Then we have the veteran card that you can go into whatever you want to. Defense, pierce, crit damage. Defense, pierce, supervillain damage. Defense, pierce, supervillain damage. Defense, pierce, supervillain damage. Defense, pierce. Then we have the 3 that we're used to right here. Dodge cap, total damage, and dodge into damage. And this yellow one right here is Spider Combat plus 20% damage, which is why like I said, I believe it's Steampunk that does Spider Combat, and that's why that would win out slightly, because you have several Spider Combat here, 3 I believe, and this 20% on top lets you do some decent damage, but Eyes of Osiris can still compete. Let me know in the comment section down below if you think I missed anything and if this helps you. Till next time, guys.